In the top stories, police investigating shooting and wounding incidents. Man dies in St. Lucia after being tied, wounded, and burnt. And Russia admits COVID death toll is the third worst in the world. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Tuesday, the 29th of December 2020. I'm Jason Davis. Nationally, the police are investigating a shooting incident in Limekiln which has left one man hospitalized. According to police reports, the incident took place sometime after 10 p.m. on Monday. The victim, who ZIZ understands is identified as Kai Liebert, was taken to the JNF General Hospital. Investigations are ongoing. Meanwhile, police are also investigating a wounding incident involving a man in Newtown. The details of that incident are still unclear and investigations are underway. We'll have more information on both cases as it becomes available. The following is a press release from Government House. His Excellency Sir S.W. Tapley Seaton, GCMG CVO QCJP LLD, has received the following message from the President of the State of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas. It reads as follows. A warm greeting on behalf of the State of Palestine, its people, and on my own behalf. We're pleased to extend to Your Excellency and through you to your government and your friendly people our most sincere and heartfelt felicitations on the occasion of the auspicious celebrations of the Holy Christmas and the New Year 2021, wishing your country, your people, and all the nations of the world peace and prosperity. Please accept, Your Excellency, our best wishes of health, happiness, and success." End quote. And in a subsequent release from Government House, His Excellency Sir S.W. Tapley Seaton, GCMG CVO QCJP LLD, the Governor General of St. Kitts and Nevis, acting in accordance with the advice of the Cabinet, has proclaimed Saturday, the 2nd of January 2021 as a public holiday. January 2 is traditionally the day set aside for Carnival last lap jams. However, street jams have been suspended this season due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In other news, the Department of Labor has advised that any severance payment claim with a termination date of June 2020 must be submitted to the department by the end of this month. Workers who were laid off in March for a period of 12 weeks or more as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic are asked to note that the time for claiming severance payment under the Protection of Employment Act shall be 6 months from the date the claim is due. The deadline for the severance payment claims is therefore on or before Thursday, December 31. We now move to news on the regional scene. Shock and dismay in the community of Chassin in St. Lucia after a disturbing video of a victim of a horrendous assault goes viral. Law enforcement officials are putting the pieces together following the gruesome homicide of a man from Chassin who was rescued from a burning dwelling with his hands and feet shackled and marks of violence across his body. More in this HTS News report.
Bound, beaten, and burnt, 51-year-old Winston Dorsety of Chasse Babono cries in agonizing pain on Christmas Eve as his body is removed from a burning house and neighbors free his hog-tied hands and feet. His gaping open wounds, which included second and third degree burns, bloodied and blistered body, overcome with pain on the cold morning ground, with the dark cover of the night before yet to defer to the first blush of daylight. Residents who heard the shrieking cries for help had rushed to his aid, pulling him from the flames of a burning structure, with the smell of burnt tissue and suffocating fumes overpowering the early morning Christmas Eve air in rural Babono. The search for answers as to who would commit such an unspeakable act was met with sounds of anguish. Dorsety's hellish Christmas Eve nightmare would last 2 full days until he eventually succumbed to his wounds on Saturday, 26th December, at the intensive care unit of the Owen King European Hospital. Emergency response officials reveal that the dwelling where Dorsety was left for dead was destroyed by fire.
Officers at the Babono Fire Station responded to a structural fire at Chasse Babono on Thursday, 24th December at approximately 4:20 a.m. Emergency personnel found one structure of galvanized construction measuring approximately 12 by 26 feet ablaze. The structure, which was occupied by one individual, was fully destroyed. As a result of the fire, one male individual who suffered burns on his body was transported to the OKEU hospital for medical treatment. No other person or property was affected because of this incident.
The barbaric attack has raised questions of arson. The fire is said to be under investigation by the St. Lucia Fire Service. Law enforcement officials are also examining the circumstances surrounding the inhumane Christmas Eve assault, with the perpetrators of the malevolent deed still at large.
24th December 2020, police responded to an incident at Chassin Babonneau, where it was reported that Winston Dorsey was severely beaten and burnt. He was escorted to the OKEU hospital, where he remained in the intensive care unit until the 26th of December 2020, where he succumbed to his injuries.
Did he die as a result of the torture inflicted on his body or the searing fire that tore through his skin?
A post-mortem examination is scheduled to determine the cause of death. No one is in custody in relation to this matter, but police are continuing their probe.
Speculation is rife as to the motive behind the unspeakable act carried out on Dorsey that has horrified the nation. Loved ones are reportedly demanding justice. They claim the victim was no troublemaker and did not deserve to be subjected to such a cruel fate. Solange Alfred, HTS News Force.
In Antigua and Barbuda, while the COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in a contraction in economic activity this year, a return to growth is forecast for 2021. Agriculture Minister, the Honorable Samantha Marshall, is looking forward to the budget for the new fiscal year about the ministry's priority areas. ABS's Ursel Charles Jr. explains.
This country is mere weeks away from the 2021 budget, and amid all indicators of diminishing capital expenditure, the Agriculture Minister, the Honourable Samantha Marshall, is already looking forward to investment into her portfolio.
We sure need a lot more than the 18 million that was assigned to us if we're going to make this happen. But I know that the Prime Minister and the Cabinet is supporting us and has told us no matter what, agriculture will be a priority 2021.
The minister says one of the primary target areas next year will be the delivery of services to the country's farmers.
And a lot of that is because we've not been having a system where our equipment has been up and running or serviced at the level that we would like. So that is going to be a major priority for us to ensure that the equipment we require for servicing our farmers will be upgraded and up and running. We've already made our application to the Cabinet, and we will be getting some equipment shortly.
Other priority areas, she says, will include water security and improvement in the field of animal husbandry.
And we're also looking at the veterinary department upgrading themselves to a level that we are able to give additional support to poultry and livestock farmers. So there's going to be a lot happening on the ground for agriculture in terms of preparation this year going forward.
In 2020, the Ministry of Agriculture was allotted $18.3 million in the budget. This registered agriculture as 9th on the list of ministerial allowances. For ABS News, I'm Ursel Charles Jr.
Internationally, Russia has revised its death toll to more than 186,000, admitting the number is 3 times higher than what was previously reported. The new figure emerged as several European countries reported delays in the initial rollout of coronavirus vaccines. Al Jazeera's Nadim Baba reports.
Extending the vaccination program under pressure over new figures. Russia is now offering its own Sputnik V vaccine to frontline workers such as doctors and teachers over the age of 60, as well as to younger colleagues. According to data from the National Statistics Agency, around 26,000 people died due to the coronavirus in November alone. In response, the Deputy Prime Minister has said authorities have never hidden any data on COVID-19 mortality rates. In Portugal, this nurse was one of many health workers getting a COVID-19 jab at Lisbon's largest hospital. The country hopes to vaccinate nearly 10% of its population during the first phase.
I think it's part of our civic duty to try to prevent the pandemic. As with measles and other viruses like influenza, that's it.
In Spain, Monday's front pages were all about the start of the vaccine rollout. But Pfizer's postponed the delivery of a new batch by a day due to what the government's calling a logistics hurdle. Spain's health minister says vaccines will be available to the public on Tuesday morning and predicts 70% of the population will have been immunised by the end of summer 2021. The main worry for people arriving at this ski resort in central Germany was getting stuck in the snow, not the coronavirus. But the national vaccination campaign is facing delays in several cities because temperature trackers showed hundreds of doses may not have been kept cold enough during transit. It comes as UK healthcare officials sound the alarm. Health authorities say there are now more COVID patients in hospitals in England than during the previous peak in April. The government says reopening schools in January will involve trade-offs with other restrictions. But its own scientific advisors have reportedly said any national lockdown in January would have to include all schools to prevent the virus spreading exponentially. And asked whether teachers will soon get the vaccine, Cabinet Minister Michael Gove was non-committal.
That we prioritise those who are most vulnerable, the eldest and those with other challenging conditions, and then we make sure that the vaccine can be distributed more broadly.
The UK is hoping to get approval for a second vaccine developed by AstraZeneca this week so it can start administering it early in the new year. But it knows that will only be part of the solution to a still growing crisis. Nadeem Barber, Al Jazeera.
The U.S. House of Representatives has voted in favor of President Trump's demand to increase direct stimulus payments to Americans hit by the effects of the coronavirus pandemic from $600 to $2,000. But congressmen have also voted to override a presidential veto on a $740 billion bill on annual defense spending. It comes as President-elect Joe Biden accused the Trump administration of risking national security by not giving his transition team all the information it needs. Al Jazeera's Rosalind Jordan reports.
Members of the U.S. House of Representatives interrupted their holiday break to decide whether to give Americans $2,000 each in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic.
The bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
The vote in favor came after U.S. President Donald Trump finally signed into law on Sunday a bill giving Americans a one-time check for $600, even though he had said the amount should be higher.
I hope it will enjoy a strong bipartisan support. The President of the United States has put this forth as something that he wants to see in terms of, and part of his signing the legislation yesterday. I hope that that view will be shared by the Republicans in the Senate.
But some Republicans, worried about increasing the budget deficit, said $600 per person is all the government could afford.
But looking at this bill today, it makes me feel like we're in the parliament of Afghanistan, Burundi, Yemen, or Bolivia. Do we really think the way to improve the quality of life for Americans is to just print more money from the Fed? If you look around, we're going to be printing another $400 billion.
The other business before Congress, overturning Trump's veto of the annual military spending bill, something both Democrats and Republicans agreed had to be done. As Congress works to keep both ordinary Americans and the military afloat, the incoming president is accusing Donald Trump of interfering with national security for political purposes. Joe Biden made the accusation after meeting with his national security team.
Right now, we just aren't getting all the information that we need for the outgoing administration in key national security areas. It's nothing short, in my view, of irresponsibility.
No comment from President Trump, just a new campaign-style video he posted on his Twitter account, even though he's already lost the election. Rosalind Jordan, Al Jazeera, Washington.
And now for the weather. Present weather shows fair skies with a light breeze of 4 miles per hour from the north. The temperature for today is 28 degrees Celsius or 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Seas are moderate with waves up to 4 feet. The weather for today will be partly sunny with brief locally cloudy spells and a 50% or moderate chance of localized showers developing. Tonight will be generally fair to partly cloudy and cool with a 40% or a moderate chance of brief overnight showers. Sunset today will be at 5:47 p.m. Sunrise tomorrow at 6:40 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jason Davis.